There was once a time when they laughed at me. They whispered in the shadows, thinking I couldn't hear. They thought my silence was weakness, that my patience was submission. They saw me fall, they saw me bleed, and they believed that was the end of my story. But what they never understood is that the darkness they mocked me for was the same fire that would one day burn their world to the ground. You see, power doesn't come from noise. It doesn't come from the roar of the crowd or the praise of fools. Real power comes from endurance, from the ability to walk through the flames and emerge unbroken. And I did. They stripped me of everything. My pride, my name, my throne. They took joy in my fall, smiling as if my destruction made them whole. They thought they had won, that they had buried me beneath their lies, their betrayal, their poison. But the thing about darkness is this: you cannot destroy what was born in it. When they turned their backs, when they laughed at my pain, I was not dying. I was transforming. Each insult became armor. Each betrayal became a blade. Each loss became a lesson. While they celebrated, I was rebuilding. While they slept, I was training. While they plotted my end, I was writing their fate. And now here I stand, upon a throne forged not from gold or glory, but from the ashes of everything they destroyed. In the world I came from, respect was currency, but most didn't understand how valuable it truly was. They thought fear was the same thing as respect. They confused obedience for loyalty, but fear fades, obedience breaks, and false loyalty always burns away under the first spark of truth. They once called me their king, their commander, their leader. They bowed when I entered, but their eyes were empty. They smiled when I spoke, but their hearts were hollow. I mistook their silence for loyalty, and that was my first mistake. When the knives came, they didn't come from strangers. They came from the same hands that once swore allegiance. They came from the very souls who I had lifted from the dirt, who I had made something out of nothing. And in their greed, they forgot the first rule of power, that no throne built on betrayal will stand forever. The night they came for me, I didn't fight. I remember the taste of iron in my mouth, the sound of their laughter echoing in the halls I built. They thought they had won. They thought they'd written the end of my story with my own blood. But darkness has a way of keeping its chosen alive. I crawled out of the pit. They left me in, broken, scarred, forgotten. I saw the world from the bottom. And for the first time, I understood what true power really was. It wasn't sitting on a throne. It wasn't commanding others. It was surviving when every force wanted you to die. They took my crown, my army, my empire. But they couldn't take what made me who I am, because you can strip a man of everything. But if you can't break his spirit, then you've already lost. And now look at them. They walk in the ruins of what they once called a kingdom. The same people who mocked me now bow to shadows, begging for scraps of power. The same voices that spread lies now tremble in silence. They built their empire on betrayal. And betrayal is a disease. It eats from within, rotting the foundation until nothing remains. I watch them now, desperate, clawing at each other for survival, just as they once clawed at me. And it's poetic, because everything they did to me has come back tenfold. There's a kind of justice that doesn't come from laws or gods. It comes from the balance of the universe. You can't escape it. You can't bribe it. You can't outrun it. The world remembers. And so do I. They used to call me the warlord of the Black Flame, a name they feared once. Now they whisper it like a curse, afraid it might summon me from the dark. And maybe it does, because I am still here, not as the man I once was, but as something greater, something forged in the fire of my own destruction. The pain they gave me didn't break me. It built me. Every scar became a story. Every loss became fuel. Every betrayal became proof that I was destined for something beyond them. They say vengeance changes a man. They're right. It makes you see the truth. The truth is, the world doesn't care about fairness. It doesn't reward kindness. It respects strength. And strength is born from pain. You see, the ones who disrespected you, who tore you down, who tried to make you feel small, they believed that by stepping on you, they could rise. But every empire built on broken backs eventually collapses under its own weight. And when it does, it crushes the ones who built it. They thought I'd forgotten. They thought I'd forgiven. They thought the darkness I walked through was a grave. But I was not buried. I was planted, and now I've grown a storm of force, a shadow they can't contain. They look around and wonder why everything they touch turns to ash. It's because the respect they once stole has returned to claim its debt. You cannot take from others what you are unwilling to earn yourself. That is the law of the world. That is the truth written in fire and blood. When I finally returned, they didn't recognize me at first. The man they betrayed was gone. What stood before them was something else entirely, a being shaped by loss, driven by vengeance, tempered by silence. Their laughter died when they saw me. Their arrogance cracked when they saw what they'd created. Because I was not just their past, I was their reckoning. And one by one I watched them fall, not with rage, not with fury, but with cold, deliberate precision. For I learned something they never understood. Revenge is not about destruction. It's about balance. It's about making the world remember what it means to disrespect what cannot be destroyed. Now the halls are quiet. The banners are torn. The throne they once fought for sits empty. And at its base, the skulls of those who thought they were kings. And I sit here not as their ruler, but as their lesson. Respect is not given. It is earned. It is fought for in silence, proven through endurance, and solidified through truth. They mistook fear for respect, but fear fades. Respect endures. And as the flames rise around me, I understand now that I was never meant to rule over them. I was meant to outlast them, because true power is not about being obeyed. It's about being remembered. And they will remember me, not as a tyrant, not as a monster, but as the man who showed them that disrespect has a price, one they could never afford. So, to the ones still watching from the shadows, to those who still whisper my name in fear, to those who think they can rise by stepping on the fallen, listen closely. The darkness is not your enemy. It is your reflection. And when it stares back at you, it will ask one question. What did you do when power was in your hands? If your answer is cruelty, the darkness will consume you. If your answer is arrogance, it will strip you bare. But if your answer is honor, it will make you unstoppable. I learned that the hard way, and I paid for it in blood, but I would pay it again, because from those ashes I rose, not as a king, not as a warlord, but as something eternal. And as I sit upon this throne of fire and ruin, I do not smile, I do not gloat. I simply watch, because I know this truth better than anyone. Every empire falls. Every tyrant fades. Every false god is forgotten. But respect echoes forever.